You. Yes, you. I know what you read on Webtoon and Wattpad. Yeah, you make me sick. I make me sick too because I read the same stuff. But it's time for us to improve, my friends. We need to do better. We need to read better. We need to find something with actual quality. A webcomic that headlines Webtoon with millions of views, which guarantees a certain level of caliber. Am I right? It is time for us to read The Dragon King's Bride. This is Lucina, a 10-year-old girl who's running away from home. You can immediately tell that she's the protagonist because she is abused and mistreated by her family. I mean, you can't really be a webtoon main character unless your evil stepmother frequently kicks your ass. The stepmother hates her because her husband hooked up with a, lady of the night who then gave birth to Lucina. She verbally and physically abuses Lucina and does her best to mention her prostitute mother at every possible moment. You know, just in case Lucina forgets about it. Lucina here decides to pull a fast one on them and runs away from home as fast as her little 10-year-old legs can take her. And that's when she runs into a strange sight. A huge, sexy, scary dragon. Instead of screaming in terror like any normal kid would, our protagonist sees that the dragon is hurt. She's special and sensitive. Unlike you, she decides to walk up to this massive beast and heal him. You know, with her magic healing powers. Because of course she has magic healing powers. If you've dabbled in Webtoon to any degree, you know that if you spit in a random direction, it would probably fall on a saintess who can heal people. But this confused me a little bit because her having healing powers does not add up with her backstory at all. She later on in the story does say that she hid her powers from her family because they would be upset that she was healing her bruises. But I don't like that. For one, I don't think a little kid would be able to hide the fact that they were healing themselves. For the second, it would have been better if her stepfamily knew about it. Not for Lucina. They would no doubt abuse her powers. They'd have a clinic already, working her to the bone, healing people and pocketing all of the money. But I think that would have been a cooler backstory for her character. The author does want Lucina to fall into the trope of a caring, healing angel, and this background would work really well with that. She would put up with her family using her powers because she would be fulfilled by the lives she was saving. This would have made Lucina so interesting, but that's not what we get. Instead, her healing powers are pretty much irrelevant to the backstory, which kinda sucks. Anyway, Lucina heals the dragon and passes out because the effort pretty much zaps her strength, and we see the dragon turn into his human form, an adult male in extremely inefficient armor, along with hair that belongs in a Pantene ad. Let me repeat, an adult male, fully grown. He even called this 10-year-old a fearless little girl, and I thought, hey, maybe this manhwa has a cute found family dynamic where she's taken in by a family of dragon shifters. That would be cute, right? Surely this adult male cannot be anything but a father figure to this 10-year-old. Yes? Correct? Wrong. This man drops an unconscious Lucina back to her family because in the next panel she wakes up and she's an adult now. She's about to be sold to the king of her country as one of his concubines, and her family's getting her dressed up for that. Classic. Lucina's stepmother reminds her again that she's the daughter of a whore and calls her ugly right after the most drop-dead gorgeous panels of Lucina, just so we know for sure that the stepmother is stupid and blind. And it looks like stupidity runs in the family because Lucina's stepbrother runs in, announcing that he stole jewels from the Thea tribe's tombs. Now, the stepmother freaks out because she thinks they'll all be killed for this. And the woman might be a fortune teller because the next thing you know, dragons are raining down on their castle, wreaking havoc and destruction. This is the Thea tribe, a rather savage, beastly tribe of dragon shifters that are shown with obviously brown skin. Look, I know that fair skin is the standard of civility in Korea, okay? But it is almost 2026. This trend in manhwas needs to die. The brown people's culture doesn't need to be the savage, unruly one, okay? Brown men don't need to be over sexualized and violent. Like, if you want to stereotype brown men accurately, stick them in front of a computer and tell them to code. But this is a manhwa, so the Thea tribe runs around killing everyone in the castle and setting it on fire, even though only one person did the stealing. They even stick the heads of the dead, innocent people on pikes everywhere to really send a message that they're complete savages. The only people they don't kill in the castle are the ones who actually did the stealing. That's right, because when they finally get to Lucina's stepmother and stepbrother, they panic and make the tribe an offer that they will give Lucina as a bride to the tribe's king in exchange for their lives. There's a lot wrong with this. The fact that the guy who actually did the stealing, staying alive, while all these random people died, is definitely a big one. But story-wise, this turn of events takes away agency from the protagonist because it decides the next steps for her. And it didn't need to be like this. Lucina could have recognized that she and her family were in danger and offered herself as a bride to the tribe. Now, I don't want her to just suddenly become a ballsy main character. She could have stuttered and mumbled her way through the idea, right? But it should have been her idea. Having a main character with agency is crucial to make the readers actually feel connected to them. Unfortunately, here, Lucina is just traded off against her will. Her future husband takes off his helmet thing and fuck. This is Hakan, the king of the Thea tribe and the adult male whose life Lucina saved when she was 10 years old. Now he was going to be her husband. Gross, right? At first he thinks she's not all that pretty, but he agrees to marry her because Lucina reminds him of that child who saved him. What the fuck? I don't understand this obsession with ridiculous age gaps. Hakan could have been a young boy when she saved him. I saw nothing in the story that would disallow that. But no, we had to go ahead and make this pairing completely cursed. Hakan looks down at her and gives her a choice. Either you die now, or you become my wife. Wow, I love that. We stand a consent king. Go off, brother. It's not much of a choice, obviously, and Lucina agrees because she doesn't want to die. They get married right here, right now, among the blood and the fire and the bodies. The comic actually tries to make this feel romantic. Like, Hakan sends his men to rip out some flowers for her from around this burning building, and the panels become all flowery and covered with lace when literally a moment ago it was this. Anyway, Lucina is now married, and obviously she would be scared of her kidnappers because that's who they are, kidnappers. There would be tension and fear. There would be mistrust, which is good. It gives us some conflict between the characters. You know, the push and pull that is essential to romance. But the author doesn't want to capitalize on this conflict at all. No, they want to immediately get rid of it. They want you to love and trust Hakan right away. And obviously you will because A, when Lucina is really worried about having to spend the night with him, Hakan says to her, "Don't worry, I won't do anything to you." We won, guys. The husband is not a rapist. We love to get the bare minimum in this house. But that's unfair, okay? He gives her more than the bare minimum. He gives her his 6-incher, his foot longer. I think you know what I mean. He gives her a 3D asset of a Subway sandwich. And Lucina's obviously never tasted a sandwich before because just look at her face. At this point, she is completely sold. Hakan is the best kidnapper ever. And if this much wasn't enough to stir your heart and send your loins into a rage, the author wants to prove that Hakan is a real one. That he's not like other kidnappers, okay? He's different. And the author does this by having Lucina kidnapped again, while she's currently kidnapped. It's like a kidnapception. These bad guys were actually sent by Lucina's step-family to try and get her back to them. They still want to sell her to their own king. But even if they did succeed in getting Lucina back, wouldn't Hakan just come back and kill them? How does this plotline make any sense? I think the goal of this whole bit is so that we can see what actual bad people are really like, okay? They're bald and they have hollow cheeks. We watch Hakan heroically save Lucina and kill all of these men as her big, strong, 6-inch protector. Now he's gone from kidnapper to savior. Lucina's all starry-eyed like, wow, I actually feel so safe with him. I don't even feel scared. This whole arc was a Stockholm Syndrome speedrun, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But now, there's a big secret that you and I know, but Lucina and Hakan don't. That she was the child who saved him when she was 10. Does this fact immediately come out from a normal conversation? Of course not. I mean, what else could we possibly base the plot around now that we've resolved all the other issues? No, we're gonna drag this one out. Okay, a random fairy boy named Puka finds Lucina out of the blue, just to tell her that he's been watching her and he wants to help her. I'm as confused as you. This character doesn't want anything from her. He has nothing to do with the entire story. He just shows up whenever it's time for the author to do some exposition and starts blurting out facts. I truly cannot make this up. In this situation, Puka's appearance is to tell Lucina not to let anyone know that she has healing powers. So now we know Hakan isn't gonna find out the truth for a long time. He tells Lucina that she could be used and abused for her powers, and I'm confused because why can't Lucina think of this herself? It's not exactly a 10,000 IQ thought. Maybe it's because there isn't one single thought behind Lucina's eyes. The lights are on, but no one's home. Puka also helps us discover one more thing, that Lucina gets nervous and has trouble speaking in front of people. Maybe the author didn't know how to establish it, but in the very next scene, the author does establish it. The tribe sees like red spots on Lucina's face and they freak out like the uneducated savages that they are. They think it's smallpox, but it's actually because of Lucina's hair dye. She isn't able to say anything because, she gets nervous. But if the author was going to do this anyway, why did we need the fairy boy? I'm not quite sure. Hakan steps in as a savior once again, just guessing that Lucina has trouble speaking because of nerves. Wow, this man is a mind reader. And just when we're all about to fall in love with him, Hakan says he wants to kill Lucina's family for trying to steal her back. Lucina immediately begs him not to. Okay, so he asks her what she would give him in exchange for sparing their lives. He asks her to kiss him.
You need to leave!
This is disgusting. She really only did this to save her family's life, and the comic tries to make it seem like it's okay because she liked it. Blah. Oh god. And look at the comment on this chapter. He's literally the personification of a green flag. Really? This has 63,000 likes? Y'all, should I be worried about us? I think I'm worried. With this absolute nightmare of a first kiss, we are finally out of the woods. No, literally, we've been in the woods the entire time after her family home was destroyed. And we're finally in the Tear Kingdom, where we're introduced to a host of problems that Lucina will face. The first and foremost of all these problems is Garrett, the wife of the previous king, aka Hakan's brother, who passed away. In the Tear Kingdom, you only become queen once you bear a child for the king, and Garrett managed to do that, but she lost both her husband, the king, and her child in one battle. It's actually quite a tragic history, and it could create a really complex and powerful villain. It could, but it doesn't. Look, Garrett wants to be queen again, okay? So she has to get Hakan to sleep with her so she can have his baby. Her way of doing this is to be openly bitchy to Lucina and to throw herself into Hakan's arms at every moment possible with maximum cringe. There is no mention of the work that Garrett would have done as queen other than just giving birth. Say what you want about remarried empress, at least Navia actually felt like a real governing official. Meanwhile, Garrett has all the strategy and smarts of a jaded teenager who wants her crush to take her to prom. She isn't quite a character of her own, developed with any kind of care. Her whole existence in the story is to just make Lucina look good and desired, to be an annoyance so we can have a semblance of a plot. I mean, her first big scheme against Lucina was to give her an ugly black dress and ban her from a party. Diabolical, a true evil mastermind. Lucina gets help with like a fairy godmother situation and her dress is whipped into shape. But the god at the party refuses to let her in, as he was ordered by Garrett. He gets a bit rough with them. He pushes Lucina and her maid away when they try to barge in. Puka, however, swipes in and shits on his eyes, so they manage to sneak in anyway. And when Hakan finds out that the god stopped her, he is pissed. He demands to know why he did this, and Garrett completely throws the god under the bus, saying that the god misunderstood her and that she never gave orders for Lucina to be stopped. I felt kind of bad for the guy. I mean, he did push her and her maid, but he was just following orders and now he'd be spending a few days in jail, right? But you should have seen my face when Hakan decides to execute this man. He legitimately grabs his sword and takes his head off in the middle of the banquet. I'm sorry, what? Yes, the god was a bit rough with Lucina, but he didn't deserve death for following orders. I think the writer wanted us to feel how awful Garrett is for letting this man die, but all I feel is horrified by Hakan, who seems to have zero brain cells. A competent king would ask smart questions, investigate an incident, look for evidence. But Hakan is playing the role of sexy, dangerous, fridge-sized protector, okay? His job is not to be a real character. He has to mow down anyone who negatively positions themselves against Lucina. Oh, you pushed her? You're dead. You told her she needs to get a personality and a spine? You lose your spine. And Lucina, oh god, Lucina looks up at him like, wow, you did this for my sake?
Girl.
What? Look, this is why I believe every writer who's serious about their story should try to find some kind of editor or at least beta readers to review their book. Because everyone has blind spots when it comes to their story. Okay, none of us are perfect writers. And sometimes your characters won't have the impact you think they do. In this story, they definitely don't, at least not on me. And the biggest victim of these blind spots is the dynamic between Lucina and Hakan. They're the leads in a romance comic. They're supposed to feel romantic and respectful. But from the day Hakan brings Lucina home, he starts talking to her about the duty of a draconian queen, how she must bear children for him. Like that's the first conversation about what he has to do. Nuh-uh.
Daddy, chill.
I'm sorry, you just met the woman. Yes, I've kidnapped you, made you marry me, and now you must be my incubator. It's like the worst first date ever. The story never treats Lucina seriously, and neither does Hakan. She never considers whether she wants to have children. She never spares a thought for what she wants to do with her life. She has no goals, no aspirations, no desires other than simping for Hakan and trying to be good enough for him. I cannot think of anything less romantic. Wait, actually, I can. Their communication is somehow even worse. Some of the worst I've ever seen. Hakan is an angry man and a terrible communicator. For example, Lucina sees Garrett throwing herself at Hakan and she has reasonable doubts about their history together. When she brings it up, this is how the conversation goes. But I heard that you had an unrequited love for Garrett. If you keep talking about her, I'm gonna leave. You like Garrett more than me. I told you to stop talking about her. Are you doing this because you really want me to leave? Fine, I'll do what you want. And then he leaves, and he doesn't see her for days. I'm sorry, bestie, this is not it. If a guy talks to you like this, ever, Let that be the last time he speaks to you. At this point, I was wondering why I was still reading, but unfortunately, there was one thing I was mildly curious about. Ever since Lucina got here, people kept telling her that she was so thin, she wouldn't survive a night in bed with Hakan. This thoroughly confused me because is he violent in bed? Are we supposed to think he's like a really ferocious lover and a lady would just die from the pleasure? Thankfully, no. In this world, when you do the dirty with the Dragon King, you absorb his fire energy. The energies weren't explained well here, it's just offered as a fact, and you have to take it. A Dragon King's energy is so powerful that women feel like they're being set on fire. Most of them die right after getting laid, and it's incredibly difficult for them to actually give birth and survive. We talk about this a lot in the story in different ways and forms. I mean, constantly, all the time, from the beginning. But even though this is mentioned all the time, Hakan is still wondering if he should tell Lucina about it. She already knows! Her maid told her in chapter 13 explicitly. But when someone tells Lucina the same thing later on, she acts completely shocked and betrayed that Hakan would hide it from her. I'm sorry, what is going on? Did the writer forget what was said in their own story? If I'm missing something, let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely confused by this. The second big secret in the plot, that Lucina has healing powers, is equally dragged out. The fact that she was the girl who saved Hakan when she was 10 is a big reveal, and it is saved for a really long time, even though anyone with functioning eyes should connect the dots. Heck, all Hakan had to do was tell her that he was saved by a little girl when he was injured, and the whole secret would be out. But communication is for suckers, okay? Lucina even heals in front of him, and at that moment I really thought that the secret was out. But it wasn't. No, it had to be done with full dramatic effect, and Hakan gets stabbed and has a really bad wound, so he reverts into his dragon form and hides in a cave. Lucina goes in and she's all, "Oh my god, you're the same dragon, let me heal you." And Hakan finally realizes, oh, holy shit, it's her. This is the 10-year-old. Yeah, this is the 10-year-old he met when he was already a fully grown man. So obviously he kisses her and they profess their love for each other. Okay, this might be some of the most compelling storytelling I've ever seen, because it compels me to stop reading. Finally, Lucina's secret is out. She is back to the castle with Khan. She's also pregnant with their dragon baby, and she's obviously going to be safe carrying it because, you know, she has healing powers. Not only that, but Hakan finally gets proof of all of Garrett's crimes, which are numerous, by the way. Over the course of the story, Garrett gets her hot brother to do dark magic on Hakan's mom, Hakan himself, and she also tries to kill Lucina and her child. Obviously, this is all really serious and Hakan executes her, right? Right? No. He decides the punishment would be too harsh and just banishes her.
Nani?
I'm sorry, what? Why is this so inconsistent? That poor god got his head taken off for a push, and Garrett is given leniency after all of that? Nuh-uh. No, I was done with the story at this point. Look, we're only halfway through the comic. There's still 50 chapters left. God. But all of the main antagonists have been dealt with at this point. All of Lucina and Hakan's secrets with each other are out. So I'm not sure what the rest of the 50 chapters are about. The rest must have something to do with Lucina's mother, who shows up with this evil aura and magic, but I cannot handle any more brain rot. If any of you want to spoil the rest of the story in the comments, please do so. But for now, I will assume the story reaches the predictable end, where Lucina has her baby and her family lives happily ever after. Yay! Phew! This video was a bit of a departure from my usual stuff. I've never made a video on a story I haven't enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like this? Do you hate it? Do you hate me? But keep in mind that I can and will send Hakan after you.
Run.
Okay, I love you. Bye.